All right, ladies and gentlemen, children, men and women of all ages. We're back for round number 2 of this podcast. Its current placeholder on Spotify or Apple Podcast is the Outdoor Burrito. But it's just simply a placeholder. If you're watching this, you see Kyle starting to laugh right now. It's just a placeholder. It may be a permanent placeholder. We don't know yet. But we were talking earlier, this is a project of not perfecting things for me. And so here we are, week of the Classic, Monday, and we're filming a podcast, recording a podcast that kind of has a name, and it's the Three Amigos. This is your crew of regulars, we'll call it. We have myself. We have my lovely wife, Tiffany, with an IE. And most likely they're probably going to hear a lot of like inside jokes. Some we may explain, some we might not explain. But that was one. And they're ever revolving jokes. That was one? Yeah, remember that like a couple nights ago? And I was like, yeah, Tiffany with an I. But I didn't say IE.
Yeah.
And you're like,
that's a really good ghetto, Tiffany.
Actually.
Hey, easy.
Which one? IE or just?
You don't get to pick your names.
Just I.
As a kid. Your
Some
parents, well, okay, you're one person that you know.
Peekaboo Street, the famous skier, named herself.
It's true.
Her parents' letter.
But in most of the world, you don't get to pick your name. Your parents name you, and people try to get creative with names. So you can't say a name is ghetto.
If you could name yourself.
Just think how cool names would be if you could name yourself. Like at the age of 5, you were given the privilege. Like, do you want to keep your name or do you want to change it?
So bad.
I would have been named like Frankenstein, Dallas Cowboys.
It'd be like Big Daddy.
Yeah, exactly. Frankenstein.
Yeah. Is that what he goes by?
Yeah, he's like, what do you want your name to be? He's like, Frankenstein. It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. Hip hop numbers. Tiff, what would you name yourself when you were a little kid? What would your name have been?
I don't know. That's like an odd question.
When I was,
how do you know do you know your mindset when you were 5? Oh, I know your mindset based on your mom's stories. Your mom's stories. And like, I feel like I know you when you were 5. I don't think I want to know you when you were 5, but it kind of scares me a little bit.
I was not a good child. We're just going to leave it at that. At some point, you may have my mother on and let her.
I can't wait till she tells the soap story.
I'll let her discuss it. Pretty much anybody that ever comes on here that knew me from the age, well, pretty much before I found bass fishing. Maybe that was my turning point. Never thought about it that way.
You were like saved by bass fishing?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Have you ever thought how differently your life would look if you didn't?
Well, we wouldn't be sitting here in the back of the camper.
Exactly.
Those of you that are watching this, the studio may look slightly different and a little more cluttered. Well, that's because our other vehicle, the F250, is in the shop right now, getting a little maintenance done. And since it's Classic Week and, well, it's a little chaotic, all of the tackle that's normally in that pickup that tows the boat is back here in our quote unquote studio. For those of you listening, well, just feel glad you don't have to see this mess. But if you'd like to, it's also available over on YouTube. So here we are in our so-called mobile studio. My life would look very different.
Very, very different.
That was the long answer to that.
We gotta go back to that later because I have a story I want to tell about how different your life could be or our lives could be, and it involves Japan. So remind me of that.
I will.
Okay. I think you know where we're going.
Back to Japan.
I mean, I don't know fully, but let me finish. Tiff is our other regular. Me, Tiff, and Kyle Vandiver. My brother in filming.
We've gotten to that level.
Yeah. We've known each other a long time. Many of you guys may not know this. This may be news to some of you. Me and Kyle actually went to high school together. He graduated with one of my younger sisters, 2 years behind me. And he was not nearly as cool as he is now.
I was a way different person.
Yeah. I mean, we both were.
Bass fishing changed my life in a weird way too. 5 years ago.
You were already down the path of greatness before you came on the road with us. But should we just get into that? Should we just talk about that? See, the thing with this podcast is that we don't really have a set schedule. It just becomes a story. So I'm going to start with that. My original idea for filming everything on tour came, I don't know, many years ago. Many moons ago.
6 years ago.
Like on your flip camera.
Before that.
Your flip camera, right?
Yeah, like I wanted to film. Well, I started filming, even back like some in high school, taking photos and stuff just because I enjoyed it. But I would say a couple years into my career, I was filming with, POV cameras, GoPros and stuff. And I just couldn't ever capture everything that I wanted to or tell the story that I wanted to because, well, I had to concentrate on fishing and sometimes you would miss shots. I mean, even if you do have a guy, he still misses a lot of shots. If you've seen the St. John's video.
If you put snacks in my boat, I'm going to miss some shots.
Put snacks in his boat.
Oh, we just have to forget his lunch, not yours.
Yeah. There you go. Problem solved. No lunch for Kyle at the Classic this week. So fast forward to 2017. I decide I'm going to film, get a guy also by the name of Brandon who films for us in 2017 and then is not able to do it again in 2018. So a few weeks before the first event, me and Tiff are in scramble mode. I had sold a sponsorship to Go RVing to support the videos. So here we were a couple weeks before the first event and had no cameraman and had obligations to fill. Tiff goes, "What about your buddy from high school that you showed him his wedding videos?"
Can you just say that you guys weren't actually buddies in high school?
We weren't buddies.
No, we were more acquaintances.
It was like Brandon was a couple years older.
I didn't know that because he showed me the video and it was like, hey, this is like my buddy from high school kind of thing. But
yeah, he was younger in many ways. So here we are. Tiff's like, "Hey, call up that guy." She didn't even know his name at the time. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he's going to want to film fishing stuff, whatever. And finally I was like, all right, I'll just hit him up. I had to have just sent you a message on Instagram or something.
Exactly. I was on a road trip.
Because I don't think I had your phone number at that point.
True. It had I don't even think I had. Or something.
So I send Kyle a message. I'm like, "Hey, you want to film some fishing tournaments?" Well, good news is he was very nomadic at that point. Very similar to his nomadic ways he has now. But at that point, he had a couple of wedding obligations, but he was free for most of the year. So Kyle started filming for us in 2018. Sam Moore and Jay Siemens picked up his slack.
Yep. That's quite the crew. If you really think about it, like the quality of cameramen that you had in that year was like
I had the best
all-star team.
Yeah,
like if you fast forward now, if like all three of us all-star level, well, that's kind of like there 2 all-stars and then you got me.
That's a really, really stout group.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know or have not seen any of Jay Siemens or Sam Moore's work. They're not like in the same company. They work separately. Both incredibly talented, actually both pretty good anglers and ridiculously talented behind the camera. So I did. And everybody has their own style, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. You have your own style. Sam has his own style. Jay has his own style. And all three of them are really, really good. So I hadn't thought about that, but that's crazy. I did have a really all-star team.
Yeah. You chose me, but well, you didn't really choose me. It was like the last one that like couldn't fish as well. And the other guys wanted, that's probably why they're not here. They wanted to fish more. And
you just knew nothing about it.
I knew nothing.
But now you want to fish more, so we're having that problem again.
It's like torture.
Trying to
How many times had you been in a bass boat?
That was
before Lake Martin.
I think that was my very first time in a bass boat. I remember going fast and I was like, wow, crazy. This is cool. And I was like, well, wow, we're going really fast. Like compared to my dad's like old Lund Deep V, like I think the max we hit was like 40. And then when we first boat Lake Martin, we were just cruising at 70. I was like, holy cow. I remember you took me out fishing after the tournament. And I remember I was like, dude, like, I don't know how to use, like, I thought fishing was like with a bobber. That's how new I was to like fishing.
Yeah. You'd been around it, but
I've been around it, like jerk baits. And that's like basically pike fishing up north with my dad, like on a weekend. But,
knew nothing about tournament bass fishing.
Not at all.
And I just threw him didn't even really give him a rundown. I just threw him in a boat with a camera boat driver and said, here you go, get some shots.
Yeah.
So if you go back to Lake Martin, the first one Kyle filmed in 2018, it's really impressive.
That's like a perspective of someone who knows nothing of fishing is like, how do you make something like out of a fishing tournament?
But I also think that gives a very unique perspective. And that was something that I was actually looking for, was someone that was willing, obviously, to go through the hard work of it, but that had a fresh outlook on it. Because sometimes, like as anglers or really in any industry, sometimes you don't always see the fresh perspective on things. And so you become stale or stagnant. But when you have an outside point of view, you learn a lot. It opens a lot of doors for things like that. So I think that's why the videos are so good. I mean, it's part of it. It's probably because of Tiff Snacks. Tiff Snacks keep the team fueled, but they also are the cause of Kyle's hook set misses.
I will admit, of all the snack pantries I've ever seen in my life, Tiff has like the greatest snack selection of all.
But you were missing the hook sets because you were not eating the carrots, but you were doing something else with the carrots. So,
well, can we explain that a little bit more?
So what was the last term? Yeah, Harris chain. The Harris chain was, there was a bird and it was close. But I would take a bite of a carrot and then the rest of the carrot I'd have like, that was my ammo. Feed the bird. We'll say feed the bird. But
nice of you.
The carrot, it would incentivize eating half of a carrot, and then the other half, Chad Smith would watch me feed the bird with. That was sitting like on a tree perfectly. You know, like the annoying birds that like are just brutal and they're ugly, gnarly birds.
Yeah, I know. I saw them.
Yeah,
I was there.
I was trying to feed that bird.
I wish we would have talked about that with Chad. About me putting you guys in the hot box.
Oh, dude.
Like in the little... Did you hear this story, Tiff?
I don't think so.
So day one of the event, it was hot.
No wind.
There was wind.
Oh, yeah.
There was a slight, maybe 5 mile an hour wind. But I was fishing this small pocket and I was moving around in this pocket, but it wasn't big enough for Kyle and Chad to like follow me around. And so I just parked them up against the bank, not thinking that there was zero wind up against that bank. And so I'm like, oh yeah, it's really comfortable out here. It's 80 degrees and a little humidity, but a nice little 5 mile an hour breeze to kick the humidity and the heat down. They were sweating, dripping off their faces. And we were in there for hours because I just kept making laps and I was seeing fish on the Mega Live and catching a few. And when they came out of there and realized that there was wind,
I could see the wind. I could see the wind on you, and that's at the point. I think we have it on video. I asked you, "Hey, Brandon, how does that wind feel out there?" Yeah. This is like 2 hours into us just hot boxed in this corner, and you can see the breeze on the water just blowing a nice gentle breeze, and me and Chad are just laying on the deck, feeling like we're dying from heat exhaustion.
Yeah, and the breeze ends about 2 feet in front of the bow of
it's so close
his boat because there's like a line of cattails and trees and stuff that they're behind, but the wind is blowing over it and hitting me, and they're parked up against that bank, sweating.
That was messed up.
It was messed up. But it was good. It was good. What do you got?
Tiff looks like she's up to something.
I know.
We went from carrots to hot boxing.
Is that what I was talking about is missed hook sets at St. John's River, though.
Oh, well, I know, but then I realized that he feeds the birds. So I'm like, how many snacks is he eating? It's like, I make snacks and they're not all store-bought.
Trust me, it's just the carrots.
Like
I do like the carrots.
These little snacks that we have here, little treats.
What is it? What'd you make?
They're kind of like a peanut butter cup with oats and dark chocolate.
They're delicious.
I don't know what to call them. What would you call it?
Probably exactly what you just called it.
Yeah, it's a healthy version of a peanut butter cup.
I would name it by its ingredients.
Tiff makes something we like to call their protein balls. They're pretty similar to what she has there, but they're probably one of my favorite snacks of all time. And every time we have a boat driver and I pull out one of these like protein balls, I'm like, oh man, it's like I have 4 of these. I was like, I have 4 of these, and I like look over at the boat driver and I'm always like, you want one of these? And he's like, yeah. 99% of the time. If they don't, they're missing out big time. But I hand it to him, and every single time they're like, wow, that is really good.
It's really good.
And then I have 3 more left and I have to pretend like I only have like 1 left. I'm like, dang, yeah, that's the last one. Put the lid back on and set it back in the
I can start. First of all, I never really give you 4. I feel like I always at least give you 5.
1 more than Brandon usually, right?
Brandon only eats 2 to 3, so I usually give him like 3 or 4.
So all the boat drivers out there, many of you are repeat offenders. Now you know his tricks.
Maybe I just need to start packing some, but they wouldn't make it to the boat driver. He would just eat them, both of them.
Yeah, I think you should pack some for the boat driver, actually, yeah.
I might just have to hand them to him personally.
Yeah.
It's just like the Yetis. I need to get a leash for our Yetis and tie it.
For the record, I have never lost a Yeti.
Because they've always been returned months later.
No.
By the boat drivers.
No.
Yeah, should we like put a little like tether? A little Yeti tether?
Do they have those? If not, they should make accessories. They should make I know they make accessories, but they should make an accessory for our cameraman. Maybe even like attaches.
Like
it's a leash. It's like a clutch for girls, like you can like put it around your wrist and it can just dangle there.
I just picture me like running off the boat trying to catch up with Brandon and forgetting my leash is like dangling behind me and just hear ting 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 ting.
It's not like a long leash. It's just like a foot long or like retractable.
Oh, that would be pretty rad actually.
Yeah.
I do have to admit,
chain
for the Classic, I have brought my ultimate coffee cup accessory.
Oh yeah, it is.
Did you guys see that?
Do you want to talk about the one in the cupboard?
Yeah, we can't. Should we tease it? Should we even say anything?
What do you mean tease it? You already put it out. You put it out to the world. But Yamaha reposted it on their page.
Exactly. But
you should talk about that.
It's a tiny little outboard motor. I can't give my source exactly how I got it, but it's an outboard motor that stirs my coffee.
It's not.
It's Yamaha brand. Yeah, it's a toy motor.
Yeah,
but
it's not designed to stir your coffee.
I saw it on TikTok and I was like, I need one of these. And actually, my office mate showed it to me. And he's like, dude, you need one of these. And I was like, I do. I looked it up, and to get it over the States, it was a little under $80, but it's pretty rad. I'm not gonna lie. It's worth
really
the joy.
That much?
Yeah, it was $80 plus shipping.
He spends the money he makes.
No.
Is shipping included?
Shipping was included, $80, but that brought some simple joys in my life in the morning stirring my coffee.
Did it include the battery?
No.
No, it did not include.
Did you see how it was rigged up?
Yeah,
You guys will be able to check the classic video. I'm sure I'll show it on there.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. That'll be.
It does work though.
It's good. And it's on brand.
And it was Yamaha's highest engaged post of 2021.
It's crazy.
A little toy motor stirring up some coffee.
$80 ROI for Yamaha.
You got nothing out of it, but they got some good branding.
Yeah, true. Very true. Man. No, but
yeah, their ROI was great. It didn't cost them anything.
Mine was pretty good too. I guess you know how awesome it is? Just
gain
like
some followers.
No, not even the followers. Just like when you hit the motor on that thing, it just stirs up the coffee perfully. You look down and you're like, man.
It's just satisfying.
Does it get to the bottom?
Not
of
even
the cup?
close. The lower unit only goes about. You have to be really careful because like if you don't fill the coffee up enough, you're like out of the water or out of the coffee, and it just like just like freaking roosters you big time. It's a dangerous game. Man, I could go on and on about this, but
yeah, but it is Classic Week.
Yeah,
which means it's a busy week.
Yeah, if you've ever been in the Classic, you know that this is kind of crazy that Brandon's doing a podcast during Classic Week, and the look on my face when he said we were doing a podcast was pretty priceless.
Yeah, Tiff walked in from doing laundry
at like 8:30 p.m. By the way,
yeah,
and we hadn't ate dinner yet.
We kind of rushed. Like today was like a very lackadaisical day, and then just like pure sprint mode to the finish.
Well, yeah, the dryers wouldn't work.
Yeah,
that was life altering. It was a day altering. Dryers wouldn't work.
It took 3 cycles to dry the towels. 4, actually. 4.
I'm behind you 100%. It threw a wrench in our entire system because then, we had to eat later, and me and Kyle just barely survived.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm a little worried. I know we're going down all kinds of rabbit holes right now, but Tiff's gonna be gone for one of the derbies. 2 of the derbies.
3 weeks total.
3 weeks.
And you're on the road 3 weeks.
And this is gonna be
just the 2 of
you.
An
intense 3 weeks of just surviving.
Mano y mano.
Dude. It's gonna be we can make bunk beds.
It's a bad idea. We have bunk beds.
Karate in the garage.
The studio's a bunk bed.
True.
The best part is like you might get left by yourself with all of our stuff.
What do you mean?
Well, like if the baby comes, he might have to fly out.
Yeah, let's talk about the baby thing.
What?
Not like just give me the from now to the baby being born. That's during the
unknown.
tournament. I know it's all unknown, but like just like if the baby decides to come of what is it, Pickwick?
Yeah,
practice of Pickwick.
You might want to like give people.
Yeah, yes.
If you're listening and you haven't heard or seen at this point, me and Tiff are gonna have a baby.
Our first one.
Yes, our first one. Should we give him the gender?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a secret, right?
No, we're not keeping it a secret. We just haven't announced it to the world. But go ahead, tell them. What are we gonna have?
Why me?
I mean, it's half yours.
Actually, it's all in me right now, so it's all mine.
Okay, that's true.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm having a little sister.
There you go. I don't know why you were struggling with saying that, but
because what if we go to our appointment next week and it turns out we were wrong on the gender? Yeah. I'm still in this. She's
way over halfway and still not fully convinced that it's a girl, even though we've had blood work and ultrasounds.
It happens.
I mean, it could happen.
But yeah, it's a girl.
It could. I'm pretty convinced that it's a girl.
Yeah.
I can already see the attitude.
Oh boy.
But the biggest news of that whole thing is the due date. People can think whatever they want. We're both 34 years old. Tiff's just a little older. But we are due the week of the Pickwick Elite event. Because we don't plan things. I don't plan things. Tiff's more of a planner. But this one, full throttle, no plan. Bam. Here we are. Due date of May 30th. Which, guess what? Is the first day of practice for the Pickwick Lake Elite event. That's going to be a real interesting couple weeks. So we're going to drive home after... Well, we're going to go from Chickamauga to Texas, leave our camper at one of our favorite campgrounds, and then we're going to drive home, and then Tiff's going to stay home, and then me and Kyle are going to drive back. Be home for a few weeks, then we're going to drive all the way back to Texas. Not thrive, but survive.
Yep.
For 3 weeks, hopefully. Hopefully I win $100,000 at Pickwick on Sunday. Baby comes a little bit late. I take $100,000 back to the hospital on Monday. Preferably like Wednesday or Thursday. I mean, I would prefer to just drive everything home instead of have to fly home and then fly back and drive it back. I'm just giving like perfect world scenario case here. Perfect case scenario. I think that's how you say that. About Wednesday or Thursday, just sign that check over to the hospital, be free and clear with a brand new baby, no debt.
You want to hear my perfect scenario?
Please.
It's day 3.
Tiff has it
tournament.
3 weeks early, comes on the road and still gets to cook and make snacks.
That's pretty close.
Good luck.
Day 3, we get the call. Me and Brandon, we're heading to the ramp, okay? Brandon's leading. I'm going to be really detailed. Brandon's leading. He's up by like 5 pounds. Day 3, they call us. Hey, Tiff's going to the labor. Then after that, me and Brandon on video have a very lengthy discussion on how we're going to do this and get out of here. And we decide, it's very dramatic. We give like the you know, like the warrior handshake where you just like both grab like hands and it's like an epic. And we're like, we're going to drive home.
Do we look in each other's eyes?
Yeah, it's very like, it's a very special moment.
Isn't this already a movie?
Kind of. I mean, there's like a mesh of, it's like one's due date, the movie due date.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one's like Gladiator or like Braveheart. Because we're going to have that epic moment. And then we're going to give up day 4 of the tournament. You're going to still finish top 10, which is pretty epic. But you gave up the $100,000 check. We drive home all in 24 hours straight. Make it to like Tiffany giving birth. You're going to walk in there, grab the baby. It's a real perfect ending. But in between of that 24 hours is like intense driving. Me like being able to drive the truck like crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to be sick. And then we get there and then
it's like, so that 24 hours would be like Gladiator met Wedding Crashers met The Hangover.
Exactly.
And
there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff going on. If you guys haven't, I just picture it being like due date.
Could we make it a little bit better? And I just have like a 22-pound lead after 3 days and then I still win?
That would be
even though I don't fish the last day. I don't think there's a rule that says you have to compete in the last day to still win.
M. Night Shyamalan movie. Oh. I wear your jersey. You fly home. I fish day 4.
Yeah, I'm
as Brandon Paul.
Probably gonna need a 35-pound lead then, because I'm sure there's gonna be deductions without you catching a bass. I don't.
Oh man, that would actually be my ideal situation.
Yeah. What's yours, Tiff? What's your perfect case scenario?
I'd probably say like a week late or like a week early or 3 weeks early or 2 weeks late.
Preferably not on a tournament.
Yeah. That's
what we all hope for. If it does, I'm bailing. Not on the berth. I'm bailing on the derby.
Smart, and just cross your fingers you get there before she comes.
Yeah. They make more tournaments. I may only make one baby. I don't know. So I'm going to try to be there. Do my best. But back to Classic Week. I don't even know how we got down that road.
I'm telling you, anybody that's watching this or listening, this is a podcast full of rabbit holes.
Yes. Which, I mean, that could be,
the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that could be the name too. It's going to hopefully not be a rabbit hole every single time, but it's more of just a conversation for all of us. We can talk about anything. We can't really talk about nothing because
that'd be boring.
We actually have to talk for people to listen, but that's what it's going to be. So, Classic Week. Some of you may not know this. I'm going to give a little rundown of how this shindig works. It is the largest single event in bass fishing. Some have compared it to the Super Bowl, maybe the World Series, things like that. Big events. So here we are at the Classic, and it's a little different than most elite events. So most of our elite events are 3 days of practice, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, tournament, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The interesting thing with the Classic is that it is single-handedly the largest bass fishing tournament in the world, but it is also the largest media fishing event in the world. The amount of impressions and media that comes from the Classic far succeeds any other tournament. And so with that being said, well, guess what? It's not only a fishing tournament, which means our practice is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the last 3 days, because we're filming this on Monday night. And I'll talk about my practice a little bit here in a while, because we're going to give them some of the goods, not so goods of practice. And today was a off day. It was just like hotel registration, but we stay in the camper at the lake and we just stay in the hotel one night. Tomorrow, Tuesday, registration. Hopefully Kyle gets his media passes.
Fingers crossed.
Tiff's going to go with us because we've also got a Yamaha dinner and we've got some other filming stuff to do with bass and things like that. Am I missing anything yet? Okay. Tiff keeps me on track. Wednesday, quote unquote, official practice day. This is a full run through for everyone involved in the tournament. So we actually go out in our boat order, check in on our check-in times, and do all that. We treat it as if it was the first day of the tournament. It's going to be an important day, this one. I'll talk about that more when I get into practice. Thursday, no more fishing. Back to media. Media day, where media from all over the world comes. We usually park our boats, hang out in the boats, do all that media stuff, videos, blogs, written articles, every type of medium you can think of. And then guess what? Prep. Thursday night, finalize all your tackle, your gear, and the big show starts Friday. Friday, Saturday, full field, top 25 fish. Sunday, and someone on Sunday is going to win $300,000 and a 52-pound trophy and etch their name in history.
Did you miss Wednesday night?
I did miss Wednesday night.
I was I think we jumped from practice to media day.
I got excited. Yeah.
Okay.
Wednesday practice. So Wednesday is actually the most chaotic day.
I feel like that's what sets the Classic to chaos.
Is Wednesday?
Yeah, because it's just like, bam, you have so much going on in one day.
That's true. It's kind of like a build up.
Yeah.
Like you get 3 days of practice, which are kind of normal. They're routine, right? Like you're on the water at dark, you're off the water at dark, 3 days in a row. Then you get a little bit of a break, but you got a few things. And then Wednesday's like up early, practice all day, come back, grab your suit, grab your tie, grab your fancy dress and your heels, roll to the hotel.
You have 15 minutes to get ready.
Hurry up, get ready, get on the bus, and go to Night of Champions dinner, which is like a celebration of all of the champions from the year before, elite champions, angler of the year, shout out to Seth Fighter, and past classic champions, Hank Cherry, 2 years in a row now. So that's a good way to put it. That's kind of where it kicks off the chaos.
Yeah, and then media days, chaotic, and then it's tournament time.
Yeah, then it's just a blur.
Yeah.
I literally just go into a blur, and then I have the tournament like letdowns at the end.
You just kind of like
win, lose, or draw. There's a point where your adrenaline drops.
You just want to sleep.
Yeah, after any tournament, but especially Classic Week.
Yeah.
It's like pew. At the beginning, skyrockets in flight. Whoop.
Afternoon delight.
Afterwards, after Derby delight. Pew. Going back down. So here we are, Monday, our offish day after 3 days of practice. I'm going to ask you guys individually, I don't care who goes first, how would you rate my practice? Neither one of you were on the water.
Are we rating all 3 days combined?
Yeah, overall, all 3 days
and what's
of
our
practice.
Scale?
Now, let me remind you, they only know what I have told them, but I want their perspective on this because sometimes it's different than mine, right? We talked about earlier. It's good to have outside perspective. This isn't getting information. It's my practice. I just want to know how you judge what I have spilled out.
What's our scale of rating? Like 1 to 10?
Well, if you go first, you can just make the scale whatever you want. You can do it by numbers. You can do it by words. Good, bad, great, terrible.
Kyle can go first.
Oh, I was going to give Tiff this one.
She
But
just throws it right back at you.
Man, I'm fully convinced that practices don't mean anything. I've heard Brandon say he's had a terrible practice, i.e.,
that's
Santee Cooper.
That's my name.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Santee Cooper.
Tiffany.
Didn't you say
Santee was
that
yeah.
wasn't a great practice?
No.
Because I
didn't
remember
know.
him
Yeah.
saying like, man, I'm just going to be excited if I catch a bass. And I was like, as a guy filming, I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Like, but fast forward, Brandon wins that derby, which was insane. Yeah. But going back to the practice thing is like, you never know if your practice means squat.
It's true.
Because I think like you've said it before is like your practice sometimes can set you up to almost like think things are for sure. And then once you get to the derby, you don't adapt because you think that's how they should be. They were there during practice, or they bit this during practice, but your practice isn't the derby, which sometimes I think I would like Brandon to come back saying, man, I had a terrible practice, because I feel like more often than not, that is a better telltale to if the tournament goes well. But then also there's times when he's on them and he's on them like Champlain. Because Champlain, you kind of knew you were there.
Everyone, yeah. I was really dialed at Champlain. I could look at the map and tell you
And
where I was
St.
going to
Lawrence.
catch a bass. Which time at St. Lawrence?
The time you won.
Yeah.
You knew.
I knew that was
As long as
special,
you
but
could make it there.
that was the first time that we had been there for the elites since it had gotten good. They had been there like in the 90s, but back then 12 or 13, 14 pounds of smallmouth was massive. If you catch 14 pounds of smallmouth at that event now, you finish dead last.
Do you think that was part to technology?
No.
No, you think it was just how the fishery was?
Invasive species made that.
Oh, really?
Invasive species made the Great Lakes the greatest fisheries they are.
Oh, really?
Zebra mussels and gobies.
Just cleaned the water.
Zebra mussels cleaned the water. Smallmouth or sight feeders, cleaner the water, the better they can feed. Gobies, they don't have air bladders. They just kind of hover around the bottom. It's like a buffet line for smallmouth. St. Lawrence River, well, gobies not that strong. You got a lot of current. They just hide behind a rock. Looks like Kyle in the snack drawer.
Dang.
In the snack bin.
I've never been compared to a smallmouth.
Yeah.
That makes sense though.
And then, but you know what happens to the smallmouth when they just like snack on gobies all the time, right?
You go back to the weigh-in line.
You go from 14-pound bags to 25-pound bags.
Exactly.
They ain't getting any longer.
That's the truth. They get big, round. They have those little football bellies.
Keep that in mind next time you go to the snack pantry.
Dang. That's ruthless.
Oh, wow.
All right. Before we go down another rabbit hole of the St. Lawrence River, we'll talk about that another time because it is one of my favorite places. So, your wise words, which I do have to speak on, for a guy that didn't know anything about tournament fishing 5-ish years ago, you've paid attention well.
Yeah, practice doesn't mean squat.
You've learned well, young grasshopper.
Not usually. Yeah.
So you still haven't rated.
I'm going to say your practice this week. I'm going to go 6 out of 10. I would say there's a 6 out of 10 of the good scale.
It's about the average of your last 2 filming.
Exactly.
Tournaments, okay. Tiff? What are you giving me based on practice? All 3 days combined.
I feel like it's hard to rate it on a scale because are we rating how well we think you're going to do in the tournament? Or are we rating how difficult your practice was or how easy it was? Like I guess.
Give us both. Give the listeners the rating of how you think my practice was.
Okay.
And then give me a rating of how you think I will do in the event based off of.
Well, but I don't want your head to like go up or down.
You won't affect me.
Okay, so I'll kind of do what Kyle did and like talk and then rate.
You can do whatever you want.
Oh, okay.
There's no limit on this.
I would say practice was a struggle and there was a lot of I don't know how to say it. A lot of eliminating water.
It's a nice way to put it.
And a lot of narrowing down sections of water. And I was a little nervous, even though, like Kyle said, when you have bad practices, I usually get excited. But you're still it's still a little uneasy because you want, like, I want you to know and figure them out, right? Like, I want you to come back and say you had epic practice, like some of the events you've fished and won, and like have it continue to be epic for the tournament because that just makes it more fun. But I would say for this one, I feel pretty confident with your practice because I feel like it made you the first few days of your practice were a struggle. So it made you like grind harder and you clued into something toward the end, right? Am I giving too much details around?
No, I'm just listening.
So I feel like when you can clue in on something and you still have a day of practice left, that will be I think that will tell us a lot because we have a lot of off days and weather change, but I think it still gave you an idea of what the fish are doing right now. And you in your head are like, well, they might move, they might be there, but you know where to check. You know, you've narrowed down enough water to where you know you're not going to run from the north end of the lake. I don't know if this lake, what direction it runs, but
you're not, I don't honestly know either. I think it's more like a spider web. It just starts in the middle and goes.
Well, you're not going to run from like point A to point Z to point B to like, as long as you're not running all over the place wasting time, I think that's always a good practice because you've like narrowed it down, right?
Well, there goes my game plan.
But I know that's not your game plan because I saw you narrow down water and you told me I need to stick to this area.
I do feel like there's an area of the lake that has better potential to win over the course of a 3-day event.
Yeah.
I do.
So I would say...
Give us a number. Give us a number for both. Give us a number for practice, 0 to 10, 10 being the highest. And based on that practice, how you think my event will be.
I feel like because it was more of a struggle of a practice, I will say a 5 because you didn't really clue in on anything until the last minute.
Okay.
I'll say for the tournament, I would say I'm going to be confident in the fact that you're fishing on Sunday.
So is that like a 5.2 out of 10? Is that a 6 out of 10?
Oh, you want me to rate you on 1 to 10 of how you'll do in the tournament?
Yeah.
So like 10 out of 10 you'd win? Like that's a weird rating. Like, okay.
You just throw a number out there.
I'll say you'll do an 8, at least an 8.
Good. Well said.
I'm going to say Brandon's going to win this one.
Said. At least an 8.
He's going to win this one.
I'm trying not to get his head.
He just wants me to win because he's got songs in the...
yeah.
And a song bank.
But I just feel like Brandon's going to win this one. And then we're going to have the most epic ice cream cut of all time.
I think it's probably going to be more.
There's going to be some booze involved.
Have either one of you researched any ice cream places?
No.
Actually,
is that putting the cart in front of the horse?
No, I didn't research it. I won't lie, but one of the Bass Wives did reach out with recommendations on what to do, and they did have 3 recommendations on ice cream places.
That's how you know that cut ice cream is a real thing. If you don't know what we're talking about, well,
you should
get on YouTube and watch some of our videos. Cut ice cream is, if I make a cut in a tournament, we go get ice cream.
It's honestly pretty simple.
But I do need to clarify that they weren't sending me the links to these places because they sent like a whole list of what to do in the area.
Oh, gotcha.
For everyone.
It wasn't
coming
like,
in for family.
Hey, Tiff, if you make the cut, this is where you need to go for cut ice cream.
I feel like we have friends, followers, fans, family, whatever, that do make recommendations, but it's so hard to keep up with like where we're at the time. And they'll be like, hey, 6 months at the Classic, you should eat ice cream here. And then I'm sorry, I don't remember.
It's true.
You need to message me the week of the Classic after the cuts thing.
Yeah. Well, with how organized you are and your little booklet of like all the campgrounds and all the information, I'm surprised that you don't have addresses
for ice cream
for the best ice cream places.
I mean, I have, the bummer thing is I have a really good one for Pickwick. Ooh. And I won't be at Pickwick because you don't want me to have the baby in Alabama.
Pickwick's the Dairy Queen.
Not Alabama.
We're going to Dairy Queen.
Muscle Shoals, Alabama has the most legit Dairy Queen staff of any of them that we've been to.
They were so stoked.
The most excited people for cut ice cream. And they didn't even know what it was.
But you have to realize you're not going to be are you going to drive that far?
We're going to make the drive. We've already decided
every day.
This. Yes.
There's only 2 cuts, but
yeah, you're going to make it both cuts.
If I make both cuts, we will drive
past the other
from Counts up to Muscle Shoals.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. They deserve that.
Yeah.
They deserve that.
They were, as the kids would call it, lit.
Those guys, yes.
I'm going to be calling you being like, hey, I'm going into labor now. And you're going to be like, I'm getting cut ice cream in Muscle Shoals. Let me drive back to the camper.
They're 37 seconds away from having my mini blizzard done. Just give me a second.
Oh, boy.
Hold on. I'll call you right back. Got to film this bit with Dairy Queen boys real quick.
Oh, God.
I wouldn't do that. I mean, I would drive to Muscle Shoals, but I would leave my mini blizzard if you were going into labor.
I mean, you might as well wait and get it. It's like a matter of 2 minutes isn't going to
But I wouldn't go back to the camper. I would just go straight to the airport.
Yeah, I guess I will have Bella, so.
Yeah, I don't need much. I got to rate my practice.
Yeah, let's hear it.
And then your tournament, because, wait, Kyle didn't rate the tournament.
I said he's going to win it.
Oh, yeah.
10 out of 10.
Practice was interesting. And I'm going to preface this with the fact that practice is essentially, give or take a couple days, a week ahead of the event. A lot changes, right? The only constant in fishing is change. Really, in our lives, the only constant is change. And so, with that being said, this time of year specifically, springtime, guess what? Mother Nature, she likes to throw us all kinds of curveballs. 2 days of warm, then some cold rain, which many of you got hit with over the course of the last week or so across the country. And then we have a warming trend. And then guess what? Beep, Friday, just a little drop, little front comes in.
Oh, it does get cold on Friday?
I wouldn't say it gets cold. It goes from like high 70s to high 60s.
Okay.
But the wind goes from blowing from the south, blowing from the north. A little drop. All of those are variables that change these bass. This is also a herring lake. So these fish are very tuned into herring. Any lake that's ever had herring will the bass become obsessed with herring. I'm still learning herring. They're a very nomadic, pelagic type of bait fish, but they're like crack for a bass. They get on it, get on the sauce, and they can't get off. I'm just guessing that's what it's like because, well, I watched an episode of Cops while I was eating lunch today. And that guy looked like he'd gotten on the sauce, couldn't get off.
He had herring?
Yes. He had herring. Harrowing. He had harrowing. And so here we are at a lake with a bunch of herring. Based on conditions and my previous experiences and knowledge, because that's all you have to go off of, I would say by the book, which is usually a book of lies in fishing, is saying that you should go shallow, right? The fish should be moving shallow this time of year. Warming water temperatures, springtime, they should be getting ready to get down and make some beds. That is not what I found during practice. What I have seen is very warm water temperatures for this time of year. And we're talking mid 50s in the main lake, even into 60, 61 in some of the backs of the pockets. Bass spawn around 60 to 65 degrees they start. Spots will even spawn a little earlier. So, with that being said, you would think they would be moving shallow, especially with the warming weather. But I think there's a lot more to it than just that. I think that the sunlight hours, the amount of hours we have in a day, the amount of water that is in this place, meaning the water level not being full pool, has some fish held back. And so I have found not much, as Tiff said. As she nicely put it, I eliminated a lot of water. Here's the thing, though. With changing conditions like this, and referring to Kyle's terrible practices can turn into great events comment, sometimes just because you don't get a bite in an area doesn't mean that you completely eliminate it. You bankroll that knowledge of what that area looks like, and sometimes I'll find areas and not catch a bass in them, but I put it in the memory bank of, hey, if these conditions happen, and if I feel like the fish are making this movement toward the spawn or away from it, whatever time of year it may be, I may go back and check that area. Prime example of that, I found a hole one time at Ross Barnett. I actually went and pre-practiced. One of very few times I've ever pre-practiced an event. I found this hole. I thought, wow, this is a really cool place. Big spawning flat, deep hole in the back. Never caught a bass in it. I was like, it's cool. I marked it. Checked it in practice. Never caught a bass in it. Guess where I caught bass all 3 days of the tournament? In that hole. I had never caught a bass in it, and I had checked it months prior in pre-practice, checked it again during the official practice, conditions set up for it, the water rose, that deeper hole had cleaner water, the fish offshore that I thought I was going to catch weren't there day one of the tournament. I thought, I'll go check that hole again. It sets up right, and I finished 18th place in that event. So that's how I feel like this event could possibly set up, just because we have so many changing conditions. I did find some herring fish, suspended fish that I was able to catch. I don't know when this is going to come out, so I don't know how much. I guess I have total control of when this podcast comes out. Mm-hmm. I'm probably not going to release till after the classic. We got other content put out.
Yeah, I feel like if you tell them the juice, you need to wait until like Monday or Sunday night.
So I'm just gonna give you the goods of what I found. So this is gonna come out after the classic, hopefully with a winning one to follow this, based on what I found. Last day of practice, it was different conditions. It was cloudy. It was rainy, drizzly. Later in the day, I found one pocket where there were some schooling type fish. They weren't super actively schooling, but I saw some loons diving, saw some ripples on the water. So I run over there, drop my trolling motor, drop the Mega Live, and I'm scanning around, find the bait ball, and it's got fish under it. And guess what? Bing, light bulb goes off. If you go back and watch the Wired to Fish video that I did with them trout fishing at home, I figured out a little pattern at home. Not even catching bass, catching trout. Over 50 foot of water, suspended 10 to 25 feet down. Catching them off Mega Live with a Rapala jig and wrap. And it was awesome. And I thought, fish over 35 to 50 foot of water, 10 foot down, chasing bait. Guess what? Pulled out my jig and wrap, and I went to catching. And it was awesome. It wasn't fishing. It was hunting underwater. It was amazing. I just went around the pocket, and every time I saw one, I throw my jig and wrap out there. I start popping it around, and he'd eat it. So with that being said, I had 2 really random, not great days of practice. Go up shallow, catch one 4 to 5 pounder, not catch another bass. And then you'd go hours and hours and hours and not catch anything else shallow. Not dependable. Way to get a big bite. Not dependable. So day 3, I looked for dependability. Those herring fish, they're not dependable. But it gave me hope that I can find that during the event, catch 13 to 15 pounds. Like, these weren't just little 1 and 2 pound spots. I was catching 3 to 4 pound largemouth and spotted bass on absolutely nothing but hunting them down and catching them. And I caught more largemouth out there over 50 foot of water than I did in a foot of water. That's what herring do to a fishery. Those largemouth should not be out there in 50 foot of water when the water is 60 degrees in the back of a muddy pocket.
But they got that little taste of crack, and they're like,
he should be up there doing things in the dirty water, hanging out by a tree, eating a black and blue jig or a spinner bug or chatterbait or something. No, he should be eating a BX brat. Instead, he's eating a jig and wrap in 50 foot. That's messed up. but it's very welcomed because it was fun.
Is he chasing herring? Is that what it is?
They're herring chasers.
Gotcha.
And herring are, like I said earlier, they're very nomadic and pelagic, which is why they're not reliable.
Like Kyle? I mean, Kyle's reliable, but he's
he's nomadic, but he is reliable. He's a reliable nomad. Yes, somewhat similar.
So kind of going back to the practice thing, do you feel like, and this might be a softball question, but do you feel like finding a pattern is better than finding a location? What would you ideally choose?
I would always choose a pattern. Some lakes and rivers set up as like fisheries that you can pattern. Some do not. And so it's hard to say because each lake is going to be different. Like Grand Lake, phenomenal pattern lake. You can usually figure something out. You can look at a map, use the percentage triangle, find some other areas like it, and usually go catch bass. This place, because it's so bait oriented, like those herring stuff, I feel like you can figure out a little bit of a pattern based on the time of year and what the herring are doing, but it may not be in the same spots. But it is spot oriented because it has to be like that pocket. Like they're in that pocket.
Because of something.
And it's not, mostly because the bait is there. Herring's not there. Bass aren't there.
Yeah. Well, what would drive the herring? Like, I'm just genuinely curious.
I'm very curious as well.
There's no telling.
As well as probably a lot of other people listening. Yeah, I don't know enough about herring, and I don't know if anyone really does to know exactly like why they go from one pocket to the next. It could just be that the bass push them out. Right? Like they're just swimming away, trying not to get eaten. And they're just like, I'm going to go hide in this pocket. Nope, there's bass in here. I'll go to the next pocket. And the bass just keep following them, keep eating them. There are some, like, I guess, dependability things of them. So the way I understand it is that in lower light, like they'll use the drains and the creek channels and push towards the backs. So like at night and early morning stuff, they push towards the backs and then they move their way back out.
Just because they can see more, there's more visibility or light, or
I don't know the exact reason.
They just gravitate more towards those back during the mornings.
Yeah, like they use those ditches and those drains, which is why in the winter time, like when Casey Ashley won here, you pretty much catch them out of the middle of those creeks.
Dang.
And so right now we're in like, I wouldn't even call it late winter. It's like a really early spring pre-spawn transition. And it should be by the book way further along than what it is, than what it seems to be. But I feel like if you look back at the last couple months of weather, it was 75 degrees here in December on Christmas. And then it got super cold. And then it was like hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. And so I think through that, the fish never got really grouped up in their winter patterns. And then you get like this cold spell and they start getting grouped up, and then it gets warm and a few of them leave and some stay. And then, so they never got grouped up, and then they just continually got more and more spread out because of what conditions they had. And that's what we're faced with right now. I think weights will still be fairly decent. And Wednesday day of practice is going to tell a lot.
Yeah.
Because after cold rain on Sunday, and then today was hot and sunny. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, hotter and more sun. Wednesday, even hotter and more sun. And the nighttime lows start getting up higher and higher. And so I think, I don't know, Wednesday's going to be a telltale sign.
Yeah.
I'm going to run to that pocket. fingers, toes, everything I got crossed that there's still bass in there. I'm going to drop the trolling motor. I'm going to scan around. And if I see bait and if I see bass, I'm not even going to make a cast. There's no point. No point in catching them on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But that at least gives me hope that they're still using those same areas.
So then what do you do the rest of Wednesday if they're still there?
Then you go searching.
For more.
Checking pockets. Bend your hooks over. Go flip some trees. Skip some docks. I think dock skipping's going to be a pretty big player in this one.
So you said that
based on conditions.
If it goes the way you think it's going as of right now, without Wednesday's practice, you would catch ideally 12 to 15 pounds and then go to docks.
Bingo.
That's your winning way.
Best
for
case
Wednesday's practice.
Best case scenario, if I was going to drop how I would win this event, which based on my practice, I don't feel like I've found the winning fish.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've found enough clues that I could make the right decisions come 3 days of game day.
Yeah.
That I could win.
Well, is it harder because it's only 3 days? Or how does that, like 3 days? Because all of our tournaments are 4 days. So how does a 3-day championship feel?
The less days you have, the more luck comes into play. And what I mean by that is when you have like a 1-day shootout, a guy can get lucky, catch one really big one or catch one big bag, catch 2 big fish, whatever, and win. 2 days, it's a little harder. 3 days, it's a little harder. 4 days, that one lucky day won't carry you on to win after, 3 or 4 days. So the less days you have, the easier it is to hold on to one of those big bags like that, which could be from knowledge, could be from luck, could be either one. But I've always believed that the longer an event is, the less luck is involved.
You need a more consistent bite rather than just holding on to that 2 or 3 big fish on your first day and just kind of hoping that carries you through to the finish line.
You just have more variables. Yeah. Over a longer event, you have more variables, more decisions you have to make. And so that opens the door for guys to make the right or wrong decision in more scenarios. And so it's more rewarding for the guy that wins a longer day event. I mean, don't get me wrong. Winning 1-day events is awesome too, but there's less luck involved in longer, 3 or 4 day events.
Yeah. Which makes sense because if you look at a lot of the tournaments and the standings, day 1 versus day 2, even you see a lot of flip flops.
Mm-hmm.
And then like as the tournament goes down, it's not very often that someone has like a very consistent weight.
Yeah, you don't see very many wire-to-wire winners.
Yeah.
Especially in Florida. That's why John Cruz...
He was the first, wasn't he?
He was the first one at St. John's.
Oh, okay.
But that's impressive. It's really hard to do. Go wire-to-wire in Florida. Not easy because it's just an inconsistent beast.
Well, yeah, because you can catch one massive... We saw it a lot that week. One massive bag. Mm-hmm. And then may not be able to follow it up.
Yep. Which is, it's all relevant, right? Talk about that a lot. Is how go to Sabine River, a 3-pounder is like
giant.
It's like a 7-pounder in Florida. I mean, that 3-pounder carries you a long ways, and it's kind of the difference maker in an average bag to an above average bag. So here, right, best case scenario, I go run those pockets. I hunt down individual fish or, small groups of fish that I believe to be a little bit bigger fish for schooling type fish anyways, and go and catch, the best case, 14, 15 pounds. And then do that in the first 3 hours, take the next 5 hours and literally just go hunt 1 to 2 big bites.
Yeah.
So this is like naive question, I think. Do like the big fish not school?
They do. So herring lakes, you could catch a 5-pounder over 100 foot of water as good as you could up shallow.
It's just not as consistent as the smaller ones.
Yeah.
Because there's more smaller ones.
Yeah. Big fish are definitely, they're more singular individual fish. But they will get out there and roam. Like a lot of those fish that I found the last day of practice were 1 to 3 fish in a group. They weren't like massive schools of them by any means.
But you saw multiple schools.
I saw multiple pods of 1 to 3 fish.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I'm not saying. It's like, I found multiple schools of 50 bass.
Yeah. So a school is 50.
A school is...
It's just a bunch, right?
It's like saying what number is a few.
So a pod is 3?
For this reference, yes.
Okay. I didn't know. I thought maybe it was. This is like 50 questions with Brandon's elementary bass teaching school.
Bass fishing has its own dictionary. But that's what we're going with. And there are schools, and I would say what I would call a school here is if you have like 10 or more.
Okay.
Yeah. Just for reference. If you hear me talking.
So if you say, I found massive schools, like I want to hear that come out of your mouth.
Like massive schools are like 25, 30, like a lot of bass.
On the way Wednesday into the dinner, when we have like 15 minutes to get ready, I want you to be like, Tiff, I found massive schools of bass.
That would be awesome.
Pocket.
But see, my biggest bites came individual fish up shallow.
Okay.
Like 4 to 5 pound.
Don't give up on those either.
So that's what you do, right? You go catch 14, 15 pounds of spots or largemouth, probably a combination of the two. And then you go skip docks, looking for those bigger females that are going to be pulling up, looking for that warmer water, sunshine, dirty, trolling motor, kicking up dirt, throwing a spinner bug, flipping trees with a jig. Catching big ones.
The kicker fish.
Bingo.
That's the kicker fish.
Need 1 of those bites a day.
Put you in the 20-pound-ish round bag.
Yeah.
High teens a day.
I was going to say, what do you think a day will win?
17 to 18 pounds. 17 to 18 a day puts you in the hunt.
Do you think that there will be like guys with 1 big day and then they kind of fall the other 2 days, or
most often
is it pretty consistent?
Based on historical data of this place, that's usually what happens.
1 big day.
Yeah, doesn't mean it's necessarily day 1. Could be day 2
or 3.
It could even be day 3. But there's usually like 1 big day followed up by, or preceded by, like really good, just above average bags. So you catch, 15 a day. You're not going to be leading going into the final day, but you're going to have yourself in the hunt and give yourself the opportunity. Give yourself the opportunity. Well, and the rest is just up to whatever decisions you make that happen. I don't know.
One of the things, it's kind of a little bit of a tangent, but one of the things I think in bass fishing from watching tournaments and everything is when people win, they say, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And you've said that. I know you've said that. And Cruz said it 2 weeks ago. And there's a certain sense, I think, like anglers who obviously know their skill is good enough, but it's when, and another phrase you said is when luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And I think like when you're prepared, you do all your research.
When you control the controllables.
You control the controllables. I'm throwing every phrase I can. No, but like when you do that, you kind of put yourself in a position, and then the other side of it, just like fate kind of puts it, the fish are there, or they're not there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's kind of like the from a very outside perspective, when you see it come together for guys, they know they're put in that place. Their knowledge has put them in that place. But it's where those fish or that location or that pattern connects, and they get themselves in that position. They kind of are like, hey, like it literally came to me. Like I won because, I mean, there's obviously other variables, but like the situation matched up and it was right.
Yeah.
And you just had to be confident in your skills. Like, I think and you don't spin out. Those guys don't spin out. They could be having a terrible tournament and stumble into them. You know,
the thing that you can't control is when you get a bite, you can't control if it's a 7-pounder or a 4-pounder. What you can control is fresh line. You got sharp hooks. You got the right rods, the right reels for the job. You put yourself in those positions or those situations, like you put yourself in that area, right? Like you make a decision to turn left or right every morning when you go out of the boat ramp. Those are the decisions that give you the opportunity to strike when, you know, like you make those decisions so that that opportunity can present itself.
You put yourself in position.
Yeah. You can't just sit at the boat ramp and like bass just jump in your boat. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the dedication to put yourself in that position for that opportunity to arise. Then there is a level of something that you can't control, right? Like the 7-pounder eats it instead of a 4-pounder. That's the stuff you can't control. That's the stuff that just happens that you hear guys talk about. Like when it's meant to be, it's meant to be, because there's been events where I felt like I've made every right decision and still got beat. And that the longer you're in it, the more you understand that. I didn't understand that when I won my first one. I had a massive lead. I don't remember what it was, like 14-pound lead or something going into the last day. Maybe it's a 9-pound lead. I had a big lead. I had the 3 biggest bags of the tournament. Like the entire event, my day 1, 2, and 3 bags were the biggest of the event. All I had to do was go catch a 12-inch the last day. Well, I went out and I caught like 14 pounds. But I had been catching like 22, 24, 20. And so I didn't feel as good about that event winning because I didn't feel like I closed it out as versus some of the events that I felt like I closed out and just got beat. Mm-hmm. I finished second to Jonathan Van Dam at Green Bay, Wisconsin. Was that 2012? It was the same year I won. Mm-hmm. It was. So it was the same year I won my first one at Shoals. Later that year, 2012, I found something the last day practice at the end of the day, and I ran with it. Fished it for 3 days. I was leading going into the last day, 4-ounce lead. I show up there, I catch a 4-pounder in the morning. The wind starts blowing, and it gets dirty. No more bites. So at 1 o'clock, I make an adjustment, and I run, I don't remember how far it was, like 40 miles to where I believed fish were coming. Right? They were the very tail end of the spawn, and every single day I could tell the fish were going deeper and deeper and deeper. So I run to this offshore place that I had found because I would catch my weight, and then I would run up to this area where a lot of other anglers were fishing, and I would fish around, and I kind of kept tabs on what the fish were doing by running up there, spending an hour or two. And I could tell the fish were moving from like 8 to 9 foot, Then they were in like 12 to 13. Then they were like 16 to 18. Well, by day 4 of that event, I was like, there is one spot that those fish have one last stopping place. I have to go check it. And it was like 20 to 25 foot. And like the pattern shows that these fish are moving deeper every single day. And I ran all the way up there and I caught them almost every single drop off of that place where I had never caught a bass. But I knew, I could tell how those fish were moving every single day. And I caught the biggest bag that I had weighed that entire week and still got beat. Because he had a magical day, made the right decisions, and caught like a crazy 23-something pound bag.
Jeez.
But I felt better about that because I felt like I made all the right decisions. I capitalized and I just got beat.
Yeah.
Because when it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I didn't understand that at the time. I was really not happy.
Yeah.
But now 12 years into it, I understand.
It's crazy. It is crazy kind of that experience, like you said, like how you dealt with it then versus now. Like just that maturity. Yeah. It's a maturity as an angler.
But it's the only sport in the world that I know of that's like that.
Yeah. You could run your fastest personal time and still get beat.
Yeah. Because you could be the fastest guy in the world. Let's use track for an example. You could be the fastest guy in the world. Say you're Usain Bolt. You've been running. You've been winning everything. You go to a race. You get your new PR and still get beat.
Yeah.
You can be the number 1 guy in the world. Compete the best you've ever competed and still get beat. Because guess what? There's so many variables.
Someone's running on a reverse treadmill. It's pushing them forward.
There's so many uncontrollable variables versus other sports. I like wrestling. I knew I could beat 75% of the guys I wrestled just because I was in better shape. I would outlast them. Like if I had all of the basic fundamental skills, I would have good enough offense and defense that I could win at least 75% of them. The other 25%, I just had to be better than those guys, right? Like I had to make the right decisions in those split seconds. Fishing is not always that way.
Yeah.
Because of those uncontrollable things. Can you think of anything else that's like that? Like any other sport?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I don't know.
I feel like it is one of those things we talked about in the first episode, how the variables change. There's so many variables in fishing. And I think it goes in the same way as probably hunting too. There's so many variables that make something successful, like a successful hunt. And you know what I mean? Like in a sport, you have confined area that plays by rules. When you're fishing or hunting or when you're doing anything like that, there's no rules. Like there's general principles of how fish act or how fish behavior or animals are. But like you have weather, you have those other principles, how they, there's so much. Mm-hmm. You don't have that in normal sports, like in terms of like team sports or whatnot.
And you're competing against another living creature that doesn't live by the same set of rules.
Exactly.
That's like, once I understood that, it really changed my perspective on how I compete in fishing. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at a leaderboard, like they don't put the names of the fish up there. They put the names of the other anglers, right? So you're competing against the other anglers, but it's not like we have a thumb war and then we have an arm wrestling match and then we go fishing and you get points for all those.
Yeah.
Like it's just whoever catches the most bass.
Yeah.
Well, the anglers are kind of stuck in their ways and more habitual than bass. The bass change all the time and they're not the same. You can't say, oh, it's I don't even know what the date is today.
28th? 27th.
28th.
February 28th.
The last day of the month.
There you go. February 28th. Can't be like, oh, February 28th, 2022, caught him like this. Come back here February 28th, 2023. Don't quote me on that because I don't even know if there's a February 28th in 2023. I have to look at the calendar.
There is.
There is?
Yeah. It's the shortest month of the year, by the way. 28 days in a month. February. Remember that. Everybody out there, thank me for that too. You probably already know. Am I right, or am I just spitting out useless? February's only 28 days every day of the year.
Yeah, but doesn't it change every 4?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not a leap year. They're not on that day. Is February the
February's leap year month.
So they'll play an extra day on the 29th of February?
We're all looking at each other like,
I don't know.
We learned this in school. Google it. You got your computer right there.
This is my one job.
Google it. Find out.
It's the 28th every year, but on leap year, it has more, right?
Honestly,
I think we're backwards.
I am honest. I can't believe we can't figure that out.
I used to be a teacher.
Welcome to Classic Week. Hey, you have your elementary education degree.
This is
Tell
the
us.
things.
Don't they teach that in elementary?
Yeah, they do. But that's what happens when you meet a bass fisherman and fall in love. You lose all of your knowledge of your previous degree and career.
My bad.
He took me away from the school system.
Campground life? You got to re-log into your Wi-Fi?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi at the campground isn't working really well. So I'm going to use my phone. Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. So the leap year, when there is a leap year every 4 years, it is on February 29th. So we're added to a February. So February 29th is a leap year. Anybody that's born on this day is generally referred to as a leapling. So you're technically only fourth the age.
Yes.
If you were born on February 29th. I would be like.
So there is a February 28th.
Every year.
But there's not always a 29th. Okay. I couldn't remember if it went forward or backwards.
That's interesting.
So I was curious.
Sheesh.
So now that all three of us
clear that up,
made ourselves look less intelligent, don't act like everyone listening. Don't act like you knew the answer to that.
I mean,
some people did, but not everybody knew that.
I think that it's like late and our brains aren't fully functioning.
That's true. That is true. We won't keep you up too much longer, Tiff.
I mean, I don't even know what time it is, but I do know that we ate dinner late, and then I know
it's 1 hour and 28 minutes. That's how late it is.
So we started.
What I was saying is that
it is late.
February 28th, 2022, you catch them one way. February 28th, 2023, doesn't mean that you just go back and catch them in the same place, because Mother Nature rules, and she throws some variable in there that the bass are like, nope, I'm going to hang out here in deep water a little bit longer. I'm not going to the bank. Or they're like, dang, it's hot. I'm going to go make a bed. You just don't know. And so that's one of the most frustrating things about this sport. It's also what makes it so incredibly rewarding, is that when everything does connect, it by far outweighs all of the struggles. Mm-hmm. It is I know, even though our tourney tee last week was win or learn, but this is a game. This is a losing battle. Bass fishing, so we'll put it this way. Said you don't lose, you just win or learn. This sport is much more learning than it is winning.
You do a lot of learning.
You do a lot of learning.
You learn more than you win.
Tiff's seen me do a lot of learning, a lot of tears, a lot of angry moments, a lot of frustration. But somehow it keeps bringing us back. And when those moments happen, when everything lines up, it's not that you forget all of those struggles, because subconsciously those are living inside of you, and that's what makes that winning moment so special. But at the same time, you forget about all of those things, right? You forget all of those struggles, and it's it's all of a sudden, it's all worth it.
Yeah.
But it's worth it because you went through it.
You go through the struggle part of it.
Yeah.
You know the crappy parts, so it makes the good parts even better.
Yeah.
Because if you just won all the time too, it'd be kind of boring.
That's what people say, but I don't believe that.
I think
I want to win.
But like you look at people that I mean, I
think you take it for granted.
I think you it's like you get bored when you're the best at something. You have your baseline is you.
It is hardest to stay on top.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you some of those guys need to get their butt kicked. They need to like a Tom Brady. If Tom Brady won every year, he'd probably still be stoked about it. But like, I think when he loses, it motivates him to be better.
Yeah.
You know, like if you won every time and if it was just like, you're going to win again, you're just like, yeah, well, okay. You know, work is hard. Then you get knocked off.
Yeah. You become comfortable.
Yeah.
Become complacent. And then you get beat because there's always someone trying to take your job, trying to take your spot.
I got to ask one thing.
Ask away. Permission granted.
If you win a classic,
oh boy,
what would be your first responsible purchase with the $300,000? This is for both of you guys. Like non-responsible. You can't be like, oh, it's going to go to buying the baby a crib, or like it has to be like, I'm going to buy something crazy.
That's an expensive crib.
Well, not like a $300,000 crib. You got to take a chunk of that money and you go buy something.
I've never even thought about that.
I know this year what you would buy.
What would I buy?
Your F450.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, that's like kind of like a business expense thing.
Yeah, you would need to.
An F450?
He wants that anyways, but they're like.
Instead of the 350 dually, I want to get a 450.
Oh,
to tow the camper.
Got you.
Yeah.
But we were looking at them before we left this year because we know it's like a
Aren't
matter
the
of time.
450s like the one Ski had?
No,
he has
like
a 550.
what Carl has. Right?
Yeah, Carl has a 450.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So
just a little. It's same motor. Well, the motor's tuned a little bit different, but it's just beefed up a little bit more. So
got you.
He didn't say it couldn't be a business expense. It's still an expensive purchase.
Yeah, but he said
something crazy.
He said kind of like irresponsible.
We would probably go on a trip, right?
That was actually my thought.
We might
but I'd probably buy a hunting trip.
Ooh.
In Japan?
No, not in Japan. Like I would buy
crazy.
like a governor elk tag or a commissioner's tag or something.
I guess I'll book my flight.
Tiff, where's your flight then?
Well, I mean, you get half the 300,000. So what's your irresponsible purchase?
Oh, I thought we were going on a trip. I got excited.
Oh, you can take me on your trip.
Well, here's the thing, because we don't do gifts.
Yeah.
Not the little animated things you put on text, but gifts.
Yeah,
like
gifts
presents.
with a T.
Yeah, we don't do presents. You just got to make sure you get all those trips in there every year. And we don't. We do every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a big trip taker. I like traveling.
You do.
I like seeing. But
you guys have done a fair share traveling.
Well,
we're getting
the last couple of years for sure. I feel like every season you went somewhere, right?
No.
Not the last couple of years.
Well, it's been a tough couple of years.
Yeah.
Too,
kind of
all the travel stuff, but
it's hard to travel to foreign countries when they're not open.
Well, we did 18
Thailand and then Japan.
Yeah, we did Thailand, Japan.
And then we went to St.
China,
Lucia that year.
St. Lucia. I've been in all 50 U.S. states.
Dang.
I have one left.
What's your state,
You have
Tiff?
left?
I think I have one of the ones up.
Like New Hampshire?
No, we went.
No, we went through New Hampshire.
I was thinking it was New Hampshire. Is it Connecticut?
Maine?
Or Rhode Island?
No, maybe like Rhode Island or
I
something.
think it was Rhode Island is the one that I haven't hit
It's like
yet.
the tiniest.
Yeah.
Like one little random side one you got to go to.
And I almost just drove to it and walked around in a town and explored one day because
a lot of coffee.
because we were in Maine and it's really not that far when you're in Maine for a week.
Yeah, depending on what part of Maine you're in.
Yeah.
Maine's a fairly large state for the East Coast.
But for the traveling we do, it's not that far. It's not going from Idaho to Rhode Island.
We talk about that perspective a lot of like what our perspective of
driving.
Yeah, of like just a normal day's drive versus like what other people's perspective of normal driving is. For us, a 15-hour day is like kind of normal, and like when we see a 7-hour drive to a tournament,
we're
like,
excited.
Yeah, we're like, oh, sweet. It's like hop, skip, and jump. Like we can wake up, we can cook breakfast, have coffee, and we can still be there by lunchtime. Yeah. This is great.
Maybe not by lunch, but.
You just had this conversation with your mom.
I did just have this. My mom and dad took a trip. What did they say? 28 hours.
28 hours in 2 days.
And two and a half days.
Yeah.
And
14-hour drive one way.
She was not loving it, but I had to put it into perspective to her. Like, oh yeah, that's like a good day's drive for us. But you have to keep in mind too that she's my mother, so her age she's not old. She had us pretty young.
Careful, she might.
I was going to say your mom might.
She knows. She had us. She knows because she had us young. Like she was 23 when she had me, I believe. I'm just saying she's in good shape. But when you're older than 30, in your 30s, we even do it sometimes. Your body starts to lock up when you sit for that long.
When you're just not used to it.
Yeah, and we do it all the time, so we're more conditioned. She's not really.
Mental thing.
The bass fishing community is many hours that it's what is it? Boomer says you guys are part-time fishermen, full-time truckers.
Yeah.
You guys drive a lot. Like, I mean, it'd be hard to judge against everybody else, but like in terms of like the whole community as a whole, you guys put on tons of miles. From tournament to tournament, you know what I mean? Going from place to place, week after week, fishing opens, like Chad. How many miles do you think Chad puts on a year? Going up north and down and then all around.
I would say John Cox probably does the most.
John Cox was the busiest last year.
I think that, but he's like making circles in the southeast, right? I don't know how many miles he drove last year. He fished an incredible amount of tournaments.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't add up unless you're making like
the long
500 to 1,000 mile drives at a time.
True.
That's when they really add up. Like when we have to drive 55 hours to Florida or 55 hours to New York from home.
Yeah, and that's our longest.
That's when you look and you're like, wow, I just got here and I need an oil change. Like when you have to drive from your house and you need an oil change by the time you get to like the first or second tournament, that's a long way.
Yeah. Well, and if you're Googling right now, Idaho to New York, and it does not say 55 hours, it's because you have to stop and get fuel.
That's if you drive a Prius.
You still have to stop and get fuel. And
yeah, no, but like 50 miles, I don't know. I don't even know what a Prius gets. I've never even drove one. But if you get like 35, 40 miles of the gallon versus 8 miles to the gallon, towing a 43-foot camper, doing 70 miles an hour, you got to stop a lot more.
I have another question because I know people want to know.
Who drives what?
Who drives what?
That's
I see that comment all the time.
Top question.
I know, we do get that a lot. What do you drive, Tiff?
I pull the boat like 98% of the time.
Yeah. Tiff is capable of driving the camper, but she tows the boat.
We both feel safer with me towing the boat.
Yeah, it's not that she's not capable. She has moved the camper by herself at campgrounds before.
Well, yeah, they had flooded, remember?
Yeah.
I was just talking about that today, actually.
Mississippi River, a couple years ago, we were at the campground. It's on this little peninsula. It flooded, or it was flooding. We had to evacuate our site because it was one of the like lower level sites.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, you can move to one of our higher water sites, which is about 4 feet higher. But at least our campsite wasn't full of water. That's how close it was. And I was fishing a tournament, and Tiff hooked up the camper, moved it all by herself, backed it into a new spot.
I didn't even hit anything. I was pretty proud.
Fully capable. I will say this.
Oh gosh. Here we go.
Well, I'll get to that story in a second. She knows exactly where I'm going. But I do feel a lot more comfortable me towing this, especially with her currently carrying our child.
You're saying this has more weight. And
I'm saying
could like pull.
There's
you
a
around.
lot of people that drive with zero understanding of how long it takes for a 43-foot fifth wheel to stop.
Oh, yeah.
An F350 handles it great.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a lot of inertia and power behind a 43-foot camper that you don't just stop on a dime.
Well, you almost had
You've traveled
incident.
long enough now, Kyle. You've seen the idiot drivers out there. If you're on the road, especially if you're listening to this while you're driving, and you see a fifth wheel, a trucker, some type of vehicle that is larger than the vehicle you are in, do not pull straight in front of them and then slam on the brakes. Do yourself a favor and give them a little bit of space.
Or don't tailgate because we can't see you most of the time.
Oh, if you're tailgating me, I can't see you. No way.
Like there's cars that go in between us and I'm like, he can probably barely see me. I don't know how you are. You're like in our office right now.
Yeah. So based on those drivers, I feel more comfortable driving this just in case something ever happened. Sometimes you got to like think Johnny on the spot.
Well, there was an incident on the way down when he got cut off that motorcycle.
Oh yeah. How about a motorcycle?
Yeah. We weren't sure we were going to.
Not my fault. I was driving. There were two motorcycles. They were traveling together. One went flying past us. And were you with us? No, just me and Tiff. And there was a gas station ahead, and the first motorcycle that goes by decides he's going to go to the gas station. Well, second motorcycle decides that they need to pass me, then get into my lane in front of me, then get into the gas station. Mind you, I'm doing 65 miles an hour, and we're talking a street bike, the ones like me and the ones that can't drive one speed. I'm not going to give everyone my full sound effects right now, but they just like slam on their brakes, lock it up, and try to turn in to this gas station. I can't lock my brakes up like a street bike. Doesn't work. Luckily, I laid on my horn and they got out the way, or else.
And you swerved.
And I swerved a little bit.
That's scary.
Yeah, it was scary.
Would have crushed.
I saw it all hot because I saw her cut in front of him, and
yeah, it was
a bad situation.
Dang.
Thank goodness there was not another vehicle in the lane next to me.
Yeah.
Right. But
but there was one coming up.
Yeah, there was one coming up. But that's one of those split moments, right, where you have to be like constantly paying attention to your surroundings. And so like I saw the first bike go to the gas station and I saw the second bike coming up next to me. I'm like, this isn't good. So I already saw it kind of coming. Second bike jumps in front of me. And then I'm already looking, making sure there's not someone in the lane next to me because I know I'm probably going to have to swerve. We watched that wreck happen after Santee Cooper.
Yeah.
Happen right in front of us.
Yeah.
People smashing into each other.
It's crazy.
Oh, yeah, on our way to Chick.
Yeah, thankfully they were in the lane next to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like 3 or 4 car pileup in the lane next to us.
Yeah.
Happened so fast, literally right next to us. We couldn't have stopped.
Yeah, you didn't think I got stopped.
No. Thought we were going to smash them. But that's why I drive the camper. That's why I tow the camper. The very first, this was the first time I let you tow it.
Yeah, you were trying to make sure I felt comfortable towing and turning into Walmart in Colorado.
This is the first time that
And yeah, this is bad.
Colorado or Wyoming. This is the first time that we had purchased a camper back in 2017. I had already drove the boat and truck down to Tyler Wrap, where I get the boat and truck wrapped. They've done every single wrap for 12 years. So I drive down there, drop it off, flew home. Me and Tiff drive camper down together. I had some work I needed to get done. So I'm like, hey, like we're in Wyoming. You drive 3 miles off the road, you're not going to hit anything. Like, there's nothing to hit. Pretty straight road. It's all interstate. I'm like, hey, you drive for a little bit. I'm going to get some work done. So we pull over, switch seats, and we get back on the road. She's doing great, right? Like, we got a little bit of a crosswind. Whatever. Not a big deal. Like a 30 mile an hour crosswind, but it's not.
With gusts of 50. But I have to say, like, I had no knowledge of we're like a giant kite right now. Also, I drove a vehicle that didn't have that much power at that time.
I probably should have given her a little bit more heads up, but I was like, she tows the boat all the time. Like, she's good. I started doing a little bit of work, getting some work done. Like, man, sure, you know, you just get that feeling like something's happening. I was on my computer doing emails or something, and I'm like, man, it just feels like we are flying. Like, I just feel like we are hauling right now. And I don't know if it was the wind pushing us around or what, but I kind of, you know, you just, when you're sitting in the passenger seat and you want to see the speedometer, you kind of just lean back a little bit. Because, you know, I didn't want to like make her feel bad. And I kind of just lean back a little bit and look at the speedometer. And I look at the digital speedometer. It says like 83 miles an hour.
No, it wasn't 83.
Yes, it was.
It was like right at 80.
It was over 80.
Yeah, it was fast. It was like, but
so we're doing,
like I said,
over 80.
My tow vehicle before, you had to pin the gas pedal. And I didn't know in this tow vehicle that pulls our camper that if you pin the gas pedal, it just keeps going. Like, it keeps rising. But on our last tow vehicle, you just had to keep it pinned to keep going.
Yeah, so we're doing over 80 with sustained 30 mile an hour winds. Yeah, towing a 43-foot kite. And I just, did I say it calmly? In my head, I felt like I was calm, but it may not have came out very calmly.
I feel like it was, I'm trying to be calm right now, but what the heck are you doing? Let's pull over as soon as possible, and you're never touching the steering wheel in this thing again if it's tied up to this camper.
It went to the effect of, hey, maybe we shouldn't drive 80 miles an hour with a 43-foot camper with a crosswind.
And I think I even said, I'm not going 83. And I looked down.
And went, oh.
And I was like, I'm definitely going 80 at least.
Yeah. See, that's what happened. That's why our miles per hour were off. I looked over, did the little lean back.
Might be.
Looked, 83 miles an hour. Then I said something. You let off the gas a little bit. Looked, you said, I'm not doing it.
That might
83, be. And you looked down and went, oh boy, it's 80.
I mean, that was a lot of years ago, so I'm not gonna say my memory is better than yours usually, but I'm not.
She's fully capable. I'm gonna put that out there, and I would trust her to drive it all the way across the country. That's just a funny story.
That was just the beginning newbie.
It is
story. Why you should probably have a trucker's license to tow a fifth wheel.
One of my favorite things is when Tiff's backing down the boat. And the marshal or someone by the ramp will say, do you want me to back the boat down for you? And Tiff's like backing the boat down like as they say that. And I'm just like looking at him like, dude, you don't know how good Tiff backs the boat down better than any person I've ever seen.
I'm going to knock on some wood so I don't
in the last 6 years, Tiff has backed the boat down more than I have. Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
It's true. Almost every single day there's a tournament.
Guaranteed. She puts me in the water in the morning, picks me up in the afternoon. Almost every day I'm on the water. So
it's impressive.
She's way better than most anybody else I know.
You kind of get spoiled though. Even when we're at home, you're like, oh, I have to. Well, if you don't go, then I have to back. You want to go fishing, right?
Don't worry, dude. I'll back the boat down for you.
So I don't know what time it is, but we are going on 2 hours here. So I want you to tell a story and then we're going to start wrapping this thing up.
Is it the Wahi story?
Yes.
Oh man.
Oh,
So when
yes,
when
please.
Kyle started traveling with us,
he's come a long ways.
He could back up a vehicle. Backing up a vehicle with a trailer was a little bit more of a challenge. He understood the concept. His muscle memory wasn't quite there.
Wasn't it?
There was a disconnect between his hands and his brain.
It was a trailer you could do, but
I could do a trailer, but like normally I look back.
Couldn't do a trailer without. He couldn't do a trailer with mirrors.
Yeah, like the mirror thing threw me off.
Yeah.
So I'll set the preface of the story. Rawahi, there is some
fog delay
reason. Right? Yeah, there was a delay, but then you guys were like, gave me the reins to back down. This is my first year. I'm terrible at pretty much everything.
We were staying across our campsite was 150 yards from the boat ramp.
Yeah, and you were like, let me do it. Like we had already launched once, got loaded up, went to the camper, had a snack because it was such a long
and everybody
delay.
else was already in the water. So the parking lot's
it's empty. And it's a big boat ramp. Like it's a big boat ramp.
But everybody's standing around watching.
And there's a lot of people looking. And some god awful reason I decided like this was the time I was gonna back a boat in because it was so open. And I start backing down. Tiff's in the passenger seat. And I start backing the boat down. And I kind of realized that I can't look over my shoulder. I have to use the mirrors. And that was the moment kind of like started to real panic and like I said, backing the boat down, get kind of wonky. And I'm like, oh man, I can't really back up. So like I can't go forward. So I kind of like I tried to like correct and it was like totally wrong. And I do this for like maybe 30 seconds. It was just.
Well, and Brandon didn't know you were in the driver's seat. Yeah. So he was like, Tiff, what are you doing?
Yeah. And just sitting in the boat waiting.
I wish there was like a top-down view of it because it looked like the Austin Powers probably like trying to get through the hallway, but just like terrible backing up. 30 seconds of like pure shame. I get out of, I look for a Tiff. I'm like, Tiff, you're going to have to do this. And
buckled under pressure.
Yeah, I totally gave up. And I'm like halfway down the ramp and it's probably like sideways. And I look out the window when I get out and I get out the door and I look and there's this old guy. He's there and he's like, he just looks at me and it's like, this is like a marshal or somebody. He just looks at me and he like shakes his head like in pure disappointment. Like it's the look that your like father figure would give you when you've just like, he's like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. And that's the look I got. And I just like, he didn't say a single word, just shook his head. And like, he just like looked at me like this isn't the job for you, kid.
Little blonde Tiff gets out of the passenger seat, walks around. First try.
Not even like I was like half sideways probably too.
Yeah.
But that was probably the worst. That was, I would put that in the top 5 most humiliating things.
I don't think you were sideways. I think you just you weren't used to the mirror. So you couldn't see the trailer and going back and forth. And then you knew people were watching you.
I was like center stage at that point. Because you failed enough that people were like, oh, look at this guy.
But it's not like you were jackknifed or anything. No. It was just the fact that you felt the pressure and you're like, okay, I'm humiliated. Get me out of the situation. Switch spots.
And the old man was the nail in the coffin when I got out of the car and he just like shook his head at me and didn't say a single word.
And then Brandon just started laughing because he's like, oh, I see what's happening.
Because I was like, dying laughing.
He's like, wait, like what's happening up there?
Yeah, that was bad.
I thought it was awesome.
That was
good. Yeah, you did.
But
it was your choice.
You're fully capable now though.
I wouldn't say fully capable. It's capable occasionally. I
trust you in most situations.
Most ramps. I have a feeling if there's other vehicles backing down, if it's like the Gunnersville ramp, that one would sketch me out because there's like just the paint on it's just like there's no guide other than like if there was other boats going down next to me, that's when I'd be like,
you would struggle here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's gaps, right? At this one?
No,
there's
they're
like
concrete.
Where we've been, but over at Green Pond, aren't they? Or it's Grand Lake where they just have the drop. At one of the ramps, they have like concrete and then like 5-inch inset or deeper, and then like drain rock, and then another.
Yeah, but here they're like curbs between the lanes.
Yeah, where we went to practice, and you don't have. There might be 6 inches on each side of your tire.
You know how you like to like. You do really good getting straight, and then you lose a little focus at the bottom, and you know it's like
I have a little veer at the end.
You let the trailer just kind of drift. That wouldn't suit you well here.
You would hit the curb. Yeah, the curb at the one he was launching at this week was...
Man.
Don't worry. You're relieved of your backup duties.
Shoo. I would this week. Disappear that when it comes to back down. I'd just like wander off.
Yeah.
I think it was like the first, might have been one of the first classics in 14 when I backed down the trailer at a classic and like all those people are watching, and it was the one where it was super cold.
Boats are freezing to trailers.
The boats were, so the people instructing, because at the classic, everywhere they seem to have like traffic control, but they're like, okay, this is the plan. You back down as fast as possible and then slam on your brakes as soon as you touch, or when we tell you to.
It's a terrible idea, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, we live in Idaho where the ramps do freeze over. And if you hit ice and slam on the brakes, that's not going to be good.
Brakes don't work.
And your equipment's sideways and jackknifed and in the lake. So.
Yeah. It is getting late.
It is so late.
Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your watch.
I go to bed at like 9-ish if I can, if we're off the water and all that fun stuff. And it is way past 9 o'clock.
Okay. So you've been on the road for many years now. Give people your best road advice. Very simple, but just like
I think I got this.
Like a piece of advice that we can leave everyone with.
Is this for this? Is this for anyone or the women or
just like anyone? You can make it, if it's female specific, that's fine. We probably have more male listeners than female, but they can pass it on. But just what like advice that you've learned on the road that you think would help other people?
Be prepared but flexible, because most travel plans don't go exactly as planned. So yeah, be prepared but flexible for change. I think that's something we've both developed really well. Also, it kind of just fits. Like the more that you can do prior, like meal prepping, laundry, like when you have time, if you do what needs to get done right away and don't procrastinate, it makes the weeks, the months go so much smoother.
Yep. So it may take you an hour to cook and prep food, but that hour actually saves you 2 hours.
Well, yeah, just think of like this week for practice. When we got here Wednesday, you did tackle Thursday. I had prepped all your lunches Thursday night or before we ate dinner Thursday. So every day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I just pulled out your lunch and you were ready to go. I didn't have to make it the night before, which I usually typically make your lunch the night before, but I try to have the fruit washed and prepped so I can just pull things and put it together.
Yeah.
But when it's pre-bagged and everything, which I can't always do when there's 2 lunches per day because our fridge isn't that big, but you just...
Yeah. So if you haven't gathered at this point...
Prepping.
Well, I was going to say we're spoiled. By we, I mean me and Kyle.
Very much. Very much so.
Yeah. Thanks, Tiff.
I get spoiled too, because everyone I talk to thinks that I just sit and bask in the camper all day.
Well, I mean, we try to spoil you a little bit here and there, but we definitely...
I get cut ice cream when you do good.
There you go.
Tiff, you want to know what I'm most appreciative of you doing?
Your laundry.
Well, that too. But you are the one that does the sewer on the trailer when we leave every time.
Yeah.
And that is the thing I could never...
That is a fun fact. Brandon didn't want to camp because he didn't want to do the sewer. And I told him, if I have to do the sewer, really, guys, it's not, if you don't have a camper, it's not that bad. You hook a hose up.
I'm better now. I could do it now.
Yeah, I think you could do it now.
But
we just have our routine
picking
now.
up dog poop.
Yeah, but you know now that like you don't really deal with the black tank.
I've watched Joe Dirt way too many times.
Yeah.
I will say.
That's why I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Not going to do it.
I got the doo-doo on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or I don't think I've seen the show, or the movie RV or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
There's like a movie, but I've always seen the clip where it just the black tank explodes when they're like newbies trying to hook up and flush their tanks. But,
yeah. I didn't want any part of that.
Yeah. So that was my job. Still my job, but I think you would do it if I had to.
Well,
that's what people
were
concerned
have to.
about.
It's gonna be scary.
People were concerned about that. They're like, so what are they going to do for 3 weeks with no sewer? And I was like, well, they can actually last almost 3 weeks with not dumping with just the two of them.
We got to do the thing where we can't
we
can't go to number 2 in the trailer. We have to go find somewhere. Like if we're staying in the campground, they have a bathroom.
No,
but you can just dump it.
Fully able.
You have to do your own. You have your own black tank.
I'm gonna use the
And
the
your black
bathrooms.
tank I've had trouble with in the past. Let's just say.
Yeah, man, snacking's a dangerous game.
Oh boy, yeah,
just always check your levers. Make sure they're pulled in before you open the hose.
Ugh.
Yeah.
We'll get it. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Like I said, we might not thrive while Tip's gone, but we will survive. We have before.
Yeah, just don't forget your forks when you have your meal prep chicken and rice.
Well, that's a story for another time. But we're going to close this one out. Go get some sleep. Appreciate everybody listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's only our second one. Definitely our longest one. But there's still so much to talk about.
There's just a lot of stories.
There's a lot of rabbit holes. I think
we'll be on track better. We're like, it's easy to go like down many tangents. I still have so many more questions for you guys.
I'm still learning. I probably need a little bit of structure. I feel like right here I have this little area for a list of like little topics, things to hit.
Yeah.
Especially if we have
we need to
guess.
Yeah.
If we have guests, then I need like a little bit research bullet points. If it's just the three of us,
this is trailer talk.
We're just spitballing it. Trailer talk.
That would be cool to ask people ahead of time via your Instagram.
What's that?
Questions they want to ask those people. Anyways.
Oh, the people
your
that.
Guests.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing about this podcast. It's not like I schedule guests.
I know, but we could like, hey, Carl's coming over next week, or Chad's gonna be here.
Yeah, like if Carl was staying here tonight, like I might have made him come over and join. I probably should have had Swindle. He's here in the campground.
Oh, that'd have been. We'll get more chances.
Like we could have Heron or Patrick Walters, or like I'm gonna try to like gather campground crew people, and it's just hard during events.
Yeah,
because everyone's so busy in different schedules. But this is like I wanted to get another podcast out in somewhat of a timely manner, and this was really the only opportunity we had to do it this week. I don't know if we'll have an opportunity next week because we're going to be everyone's going home and traveling. We got a lot of things going on, so hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys follow along with this journey. Hopefully they keep getting better, and well, hopefully when you're listening to this, we're $300,000 richer.
And one big old trophy we can drink stuff out of.
Big old 52-pound.
No, you can't drink anything out of the classic trophy. I don't think it has like a. I don't know like a Stanley Cup.
It has a fish on top of it. I believe that has an open mouth, and if it's anything like the AOI trophy, it's about the size of a shot glass.
Wonder how that was figured out.
Yeah.
Can I push one of these buttons to outro us out?
Time will tell. No, because I don't know. You can. No, that's a terrible one.
He puts me by the fun little color pad. Like, what do you mean?
We have so many more.
Sound. I don't even. Yeah, I'm so new to this thing. Oh, that's my sound for that one. No, you'd push like this one to exit it because I believe this is sound. And now we shall go to bed. That is the end of this one. Thank you guys for listening, and hopefully you guys tune in again. Later.